Latest move has been to deploy 2 warships with missile defence systems. That a day after the North moved a missile to its east coast. And reports are now coming in that the North's moved a second missile as the international game of brinkmanship continues. We can go live now to Seoul and our correspondent Lucy Williamson. Lucy, it does seem as though in the last 24 hours the tension has risen and the South appears to be taking very seriously these moves that they see in the North.
That's
South Korea's latest move has been to deploy 2 warships with missile defence systems. That a day after the North moved a missile to its east coast. And reports are now coming in that the North's moved a second missile as the international game of brinkmanship continues. We can go live now to Seoul and our correspondent Lucy Williamson. Lucy, it does seem as though in the last 24 hours the tension has risen and the South appears to be taking very seriously these moves that they see in the North.
That's right. Both South Korea and the US have been making clear that despite the pattern that they see in North Korea's rhetoric, they are taking its threats seriously. The US has already said it will deploy fresh missile defences on Guam. South Korea has its warships ready to, again, track for any missile movement in the North. And you mentioned there, we're getting reports today that the North has deployed a second missile on its east coast. Just a bit of context to say that, of course, no one knows what Pyongyang's real intentions are, but North Korea does have military drills going on at the moment. It may be that this is gesture politics, it may be a way of posturing and putting more pressure on the US and South Korea, or it may be a sign of a more serious intent.
I just wonder, Lucy, what sense you get of the intensity of contact between Seoul and Washington, and indeed across the DMZ, the contacts between Beijing and Pyongyang. What sense do you get of the diplomatic activity?
Seoul and Washington are cooperating extremely closely at the moment. They are 2 of the closest military allies in the world anyway, and this crisis seems to just have forced them closer together. There was some concern that the position of strong deterrence being put up by both South Korea and the US in response to North Korea was, in some analysts' mind, helping to drive this spiral, but certainly that the 2 allies have been pretty well positioning themselves very close together. In terms of contacts across the DMZ, there are signs that South Korea is sending messages via third parties to Pyongyang because, of course, North Korea has cut the hotlines with the South, and the United States, of course, has the UN channel to talk to North Korea, though talks at the moment across the DMZ will be quite difficult because Pyongyang is so irritated by the military exercises going on here in the South.
Indeed, and Lucy, this may be a tough one to answer, but I know you do talk to South Korean officials. I just wonder what sense you get of how worried they are about their difficulty in reading the intentions of Kim Jong-un. Do you think that they really struggle to understand where he wants to take this crisis?
I think there's both a sense in South Korea that they are used to living with their unpredictable neighbour. There's a sense that North Korea, as the saying goes, is predictably unpredictable, and that it does have its own reasons for doing things. There's often quite a calculated, quite a calibrated flavour to North Korea's actions. And officials here, I think, are taking the threats very seriously, partly, of course, because the stakes here are so high. It may not be the case that Pyongyang is seeking all-out war, but in the small chance that maybe something would spark a wider escalation, the results could be quite catastrophic. So, and particularly with communication lines down, the chances for those miscalculations, those misjudgments, as Ban Ki-moon has put it, rise considerably. And I think that's why officials here are more worried. It's the sense that something might go wrong.